MazariesJewelry.com. Mazarie's Jewelry, in the business of forever.
WHB Kansas City.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Brewers right-hander Corbin Burnes wins the National League Cy Young Award. Burnes started the season with 58 strikeouts and no walks, setting a major league record. The American League Award goes to Blue Jays lefty Robbie Ray, who's now in the market as a free agent. Giants first baseman Brandon Belt accepts the team's $18.4 million qualifying offer for...
WHB. Isn't this a sports show?
I've been a Chiefs fan now, and I've for my entire short life, and I haven't seen any quarterbacks that are out here ready to go rock a jeans commercial. I want Patrick Mahomes to have the ability to go absolutely crush a commercial selling denim.
Almost entirely.
What are they going to do with his voice? It's Pat Mahomes with Lee Jeans here.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Well, now we talk to a man who can almost certainly say Pro Football Focus 3 times fast. Kit Swanson, actually, can you prove it?
Pro Football Focus, I can't do it. Nope.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Here's the video, Kent. Let's just go ahead and hang out.
You're
here.
gonna make me watch this?
Yeah, 100%. It's amazing. It's You're gonna get some of the precursor here. She gets really mad, and then she takes her jacket off that's tied around her waist, and then drops trowel, leans up against the. You gotta watch, Kent. You gotta watch. Oh. She pooped on the floor, then he picked it up and threw it at him.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You know what that intro means? It means that for the second consecutive week, we'll have the one and only Kent Swanson joining us tonight. And also for the second consecutive week, I'm going to start the show standing up. I got through 2 hours of last night's show. And Rudy, why don't you bring it in a little bit? Why don't you frame me up? Why don't you get in here a little closer? Not as close as the zoomed in close up from last night when ultimately Kent said that I looked like if Josh Allen played hockey. I looked like Saturdays are for the boys, and I looked like
when you're getting roasted on Twitter, but like in a very like honestly like a clean family fun way.
Yeah, that's kind of Kent's brand.
Like nobody went like I or at least nothing that I saw felt like it went too far, but like a lot of like, oh, you look like Seth Rogen and I forget who.
Oh, that was very good.
But there was a lot of it was like a good family fun roast.
Yeah, exactly.
I enjoyed it.
Although the one thing that I meant to ask Kent whenever he said that like Josh Allen if he played hockey is which one? Which Josh Allen? Because I could see an argument that I bear a passing resemblance to either of them.
Jaguars won easy.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I think he's more jacked, and that's kind of my...
Yeah, for sure. He's a little taller, a little bit more jacked, but I would say you both come from very humble roots, you know. Josh Allen was like a 2-star coming out of high school.
Yeah. We're going to get Kentucky football in here.
Went to Kentucky.
In the first 2 minutes of this show today, huh?
I know how much you appreciate Kentucky football.
Of course.
There's a lot of connections there.
It's powerhouse. I have a question. On my left TV in here during the NBA game that's on Lakers-Bucks, I think, they just had a commercial for TikTok.
Yeah.
Who is that for?
For TikTok.
But I think it was Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
Doing a commercial for, but I mean, who doesn't know about TikTok yet?
Well, so what they...
Sorry, real quick. We have Kent at 9. I've got some audio from questions asked at Chiefs pressers today, and Sad Fans on Reddit Raiders edition. Go ahead, Rudy.
Yeah. So the purpose essentially of the TikToks, it's basically all these. It's usually I didn't catch that one, but just assuming I've seen one with Martha Stewart in them. It's usually a TikTok trend, right? Like whatever TikTok trend you can think of, think of it. And then it's like they cut between like 5 different people trying to explain it in various situations. Like there's one guy is like clearly in a factory with another guy and he's screaming at the top of his lungs trying to explain this TikTok trend. I think the Martha Stewart one it's about some lady who found like a hidden apartment within her apartment.
Okay.
And like that, there's a
Martha
TikTok.
Stewart is knocking down a wall on this one.
Yes, because they're trying to find, right? And then everybody's just like at the end, they're like, you just got to see it. And it's, hey, go to TikTok to see it.
It was a few years ago, but there was a Reddit, like a whole Reddit thread of somebody who had that happen where they were moving into a new house or something, or maybe there was like a safe they were trying to unlock, and there's a whole new room. I am here for all of those things. My larger question is more who is seeing that commercial and saying, you know what, I am gonna download TikTok. Because some people just aren't, and everyone else already has.
I would say it's like, why does Facebook have commercials?
Yeah,
Twitter,
fair enough. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think I've seen a Twitter TV commercial, you know?
You might be right on
Facebook,
that.
absolutely. But also, Facebook, most of those commercials are about, like, Portal or something, like an actual sold product.
I think when you just have that much money, you just got to spend it somewhere, and TV advertising seems like as good of a spot as any. Right, like you have it is a weird situation because they absolutely do not need to advertise. Everybody generally knows what TikTok is,
right?
But you also can't necessarily stop advertising, right? Even though you probably could and save a lot of money, but there's also this sense of we have so much money. It's like, why does Netflix make so many bad original TV shows? Because they have so much money. They're just like, yeah, we think this idea will suck, but we got the money. Why not? Let's roll with it. And then every now and then you get a Squid Game.
It's really hot in this studio. I still haven't seen Squid Game.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I just know there's you know how I know about Squid Game, like what happens in Squid Game? From TikTok. Because I've seen the trend of basically the doll spinning and everybody and people essentially doing spin-off trends off that whole red light, green light, weird doll spinning, singing
I
thing.
know that is Squid Game. I've not seen Squid Game.
It's basically red light, green light.
Why don't you explain that TikTok trend like the commercials asked you to do while I turn the AC back on in this studio right now?
So,
because I am already sweating.
Basically, when the doll is not looking at you, you move towards the doll. So in the TikTok trend, it's you could just not be moving at all, right? Like, or you just hear it, and all of a sudden you just stop, but you're trying to get to somewhere when the doll's not looking at you. That's when you run. It's red light, green light, but instead of a actual red and green light, it is the world's tallest, creepiest wooden doll singing at you.
Well
in
said.
Korean.
You nailed it. I've been standing here this whole time.
Thank you.
We've got a handful of...
says, or asks, so many of those hidden rooms are fake though, right? The internet's never lied.
Nothing's fake on the internet,
If the internet
man.
tells you it's happened, it's happened.
Yeah. Like I said, I was standing here this entire time.
I do hear on the other side of my wall, like it sounds like there's a room. I'm wondering if that's a hidden room. Well, maybe I should knock my wall of my apartment
Oh, in your
down.
apartment?
Yeah, maybe I should knock down that wall. Because I think there might be a room on the other side of that wall.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, does it have a different door entrance for it, like somewhere kind of nearby your door?
I've never been there. I don't know.
Okay.
Could, but it might not be. I don't know.
And this is in an apartment complex,
yes,
right?
Correct.
I'll say this. I don't want to spoil the surprise. I'd say there's a pretty good chance there's another room on the other side of that wall.
If I find it, I keep it, right?
I'm not. Yeah, I think
Squanders,
so.
right?
Yeah, squatters' rights.
I said squanders. I knew what the second said squanders. That's not right.
Yeah, squander your rights and knock down that wall. Your rights in this case, you could squander your security deposit, is what you would do there.
Squandering my freedom.
Yeah, because you'd be put in prison for that.
I'd be in Squid Game.
Can I get a little more headspace on our video feed, Rudy? Here's the thing. This show goes late, and sometimes I naturally have some good energy, and sometimes I'm a little drowsy. Maybe had a long day. And I've found that a lot of times, and in our other studio where it's a much higher desk, sometimes I'll just stand at the microphone, and I do fear that that is so intrinsic to Pat McAfee's brand at this point that it's just going to seem like I am stealing that bit. But with no one else in the studio, because Rudy's on the other side of the glass.
Aaron Rodgers will be on the show later tonight.
It's gonna be Kent at 9, Aaron Rodgers at 9:15.
He did not lie to you.
But he would apologize if anyone felt misled, I believe. But I have doing the show last night. Whenever I do some stuff in the other room where I'm standing for a period of time, I typically feel like my energy is better. I kind of like it. And I definitely think it's better for my back because in the chairs that we've got, and even in some of the new chairs that are over on the production side that I've tried, I just naturally, even my chair at home, I naturally just sort of start slouching over as the show goes on. Or even worse, if you're doing a late night radio show, drifting back into the chair and assuming a nice relaxing position. And that might work for you if you're doing a show if you're doing the zone or the program. Somewhere between 10 and 6, maybe you can make that lean back work. You try doing that at 9:45, all of a sudden you get a little too comfortable. So I think I might fix my back and my, natural energy levels by doing this. But it also means that we have to completely reframe the shot to make this work because I'm a diva.
Frequently reframe.
I'm trying to feel out what feels right, I want to talk about something that happened in the world of sports today that some people are pretty bummed about that I'm not sure I completely understand. So I don't know if everyone has absorbed this already, but the Staples Center, home of the Clippers and the Lakers, I don't know why I put them in that order. Also the Kings and the Sparks, I think. Or no, the Clippers have their own stadium now. Sorry, former home of the Clippers, right?
Do they?
Or are they building it? The announcement.
I think the Clippers still play there.
All right, hold on. Because the announcement that the new sponsor, whose name I'll tell you in a second, said, I think it just mentioned the Lakers and Kings. Is Ballmer building his own arena? Or have they moved already? I kind of thought that the Clippers had their own space now.
Okay, so the Clippers currently play at Staples Center, also the home of the Lakers and the Kings. Ballmer began plotting a Clippers-only home years ago and formally unveiled the project in 2019, saying then that the Clippers would break ground in 2021 and open in 2024.
Jeez, okay. So, well, that's very strange because they
have broken. There's an article from NBA.com that says Clippers break ground on new arena in Inglewood. So
okay, Inglewood is
starting the process.
Right. So. That's weird because I don't think that they are a part of...
The Sparks also play there. I see on Wikipedia, but people also ask Google questions, just decided we don't need to include the Sparks.
Well, I already did include the Sparks while you were Googling. I mentioned the Sparks.
But I didn't, so then I'm also saying yes, also the Sparks. Agreeing with you, I didn't mention it initially because Google felt like, I guess, the Sparks aren't a real team. Real insensitive of you, Google.
Unbelievable, Google. So I think that the new sponsors just specifically announced the Lakers and Kings, and so I'm not totally sure what the math is there. And that's not the important part. Couple things. So there's a new name for the stadium, formerly the Staples Center, is going to be the Crypto.com Arena.
So smooth. Can I say I learned today that Staples Center is Staples.
This
the
is
company.
this is my entire
I don't know
point.
why I thought that. I don't know why I didn't put those two and two together. The Staples Centers has never been Staples, the company center.
This is exactly my point. Bill Plaschke, who typically does good work and I think is seems like a good dude, but this is the guy that I saw had a thread about how like gutted he was today with this news. Now look, is Crypto.com arena dorky, and is that going to age poorly? Perhaps. Perhaps. Does it sound sort of like a joke that Elon Musk would have played with $1 billion? It does. But
Arrowhead or Gayha Field.
You got to nail it on the first
Stadium,
one.
On
You can't be workshopping
Robin
live like
Hood
this.
lot.
The
cryptocurrency.
Inside of the Robin Hood parking lot.
Yes.
But
how have the Chiefs not sold the parking lot name? That feels like the next no-brainer step.
So it was the Staples Center, as Rudy recently found out, I suppose, as in the office supplies company that Dunder Mifflin, had to survive.
Powerhouse.
This is different for me than Arrowhead Stadium turning into Gayha Field at Arrowhead Stadium. Because if it's Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium or one of those things that is Kauffman Stadium, I guess obviously I could use another one here.
Iconic.
If you have stadiums that have always been known to you in a certain by a certain name, and then it gets a corporate sponsor slapped onto it, that can be jarring, and I totally get it. We've made fun of Gayha Field plenty. I don't have a super strong opinion one way or the other, other than it's just another sort of thing that the Chiefs are able to sell off for an amount of money that will not move the needle in Clark Hunt's bank account. So, whatever. I have been furious over the jersey ads that have shown up in the NBA. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
This is your biggest, I'm an old man, get off my lawn
Yep,
take.
100%. Because here's why. None of that money is making a GD difference to any NBA ownership and any NBA pocketbook. People have pocketbooks anymore? How old did I just get? And it bleeps up one of the things that is about your quintessential identity. Like the Royals tease that they're going to have a new jersey or a new uniform next year. I don't think it's going to be a total overhaul. Did you not see this either?
I did not.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to come back to this also.
Okay.
We will get to that audio next segment or later in the show or maybe in December.
Maybe purple collars this time. Plot twist.
So I don't think it's going to be a total overhaul, but I'm guessing they're going to add a new alternate. Maybe it even replaces the gold one because that is specifically drawing on a World Series that happened basically a decade ago.
You kind of have to stop with that. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Or maybe, maybe we do
win another World Series?
Well, let's not get crazy.
Okay.
Now. You've seen this a little bit in college football. I've already forgotten the quarterback's name for Pitt.
We are so far away from my original point.
We're going to get there. He talked about how the thing he loves about Pitt's uniforms, like they as a team decided they want to wear their crazy, or not crazy, but they're very blue and yellow uniforms because it's very unique, right? It's their thing. Instead of wearing some of their ones we've seen the last decade that kind of just blend in with navy and stuff. And I love it. You know what the Royals have? What color the Royals have that's very unique?
They've got iconic powder blue.
They got that powder blue. Make that a staple.
They have the powder blue they wear over white pants sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's getting replaced, and they're going to bring in a head-to-toe powder blue would be chef's kiss.
Give me some powder blue. I don't need royal blue. It's the same as Dodger blue.
They should be called the Kansas City Powders.
Give me some powder blue. Not powder white.
Not even a chuckle? Not even a chuckle
blue
for the Kansas City Powders? Feel like
very clean powder.
It's
blue.
Feel like I deserved better than that. So, the Staples Center is Staples, the company. I'm guessing that someone listening has been in a Staples recently. I couldn't tell you where one was for the life of me.
When I pulled into the office area, or like when I made that turn on 121st,
sure,
or from Metcalf onto 121st,
sure,
right in front of me, Staples truck. And I was like, oh my, this is like a sign.
And also shocking that they're still in business a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What I don't understand as a jersey uniform ad hater is whenever the Bucks went from freaking Harley Davidson to Motorola or whatever, which I actually think I did get correct, which is really Yep, I'm seeing now. It looks like I think they have Motorola now. God, I hate that I know that because I'm validating them. But whenever they changed partnerships, it would have been really weird for you to be like just as mad about switching from Harley Davidson to Motorola as I was just whenever they started putting ads on the jerseys, tainting one of the iconic parts of your franchise. It's a bad thing, because your fans wear that stuff. And I know that in soccer and everything, it is incredibly prevalent.
They also take it a whole step further where, like,
your team logo is like
you have a crest,
a shield,
and that doesn't change. But like your uniform, you have every year you have three kits.
Yeah.
And every year all three are completely different.
True.
So like if you are a true fan, I use air quotes, you've got to buy a new uniform every year because they do not repeat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point actually.
I'm surprised professional sports here have not started that.
The NBA is getting close with all the city edition and everything.
They do have like a basic home and away.
Baseball started doing that last year.
Yeah.
With some of the city edition uniforms.
That is definitely.
I wonder if the Royals are getting a city edition uniform. Ooh. That'd be kind of neat.
Kid from my high school designed the White Sox city uniform.
Those are sweet. The South Side ones with the pinstripes.
He was the main designer on them.
Tell him to work on a Royals one.
Be pretty cool.
Tell him to do it for free and then send it to me, I guess. I don't know why. It's just very weird, I think, to go, but without Staples Center, what's going to hold these memories together? The Staples pun? Like, it's still just corporate name changing. If in 10 years or whatever, it goes from Geehaw Field at Arrowhead Stadium to Coinbase Field at Arrowhead Stadium. I know multiple crypto companies, everyone. I'm very cool, and I'd love to tell you about these fun fake coins. That if you buy the ones that I already have, we'll both get rich, or at least I will.
Doge needs to get on the naming rights game.
See, like, Dogecoin Field at Arrowhead Stadium would make me a little happy.
Yeah.
And it would make Rudy very happy because he liquidated 7 straight paychecks and put it all in a fake meme coin.
Change the mascot from the KC Wolf to the Doge.
No, change it. Let's get, you know what? We're gonna sidestep the cultural appropriation thing. Kansas City Doge is Doge? I think it's just Doge, singular and
just
plural.
Doge, yeah.
And it's just that corgi on the side of your helmet.
I mean, yeah, like here's the thing.
Merch would be so good.
It's a sports team. You don't have to be perfect. You want to come the Doges. That's like nobody's really gonna fight you. I don't think. But before every game, it's instead of when people say home, it's the land of the free and home of the brave, but everybody else Chiefs. You yell Corgi, and then you just unleash like 100 of them onto the field, just running everywhere.
You use a soft G on the name of that breed, that dog breed.
Corgi?
Yeah, the way you say it is just putting a cuss sound before the word orgy, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Is that not how you say it?
I think if there was
am I saying it?
I think if there were a bunch of those fluffy dogs in heat, it would be a corgi orgy, not a corgi orgy. It's a hard, hard guh. I think I've been wrong about things like this.
I'm like 99% positive you are right in this situation.
And also, I believe it's pronounced dog, D-O-G.
I think it's Doge.
That one I had, actually. Rudy was right. From the Twitch, before I forget to answer this later, Credible Hulk asked where I got my shirt. It's the Rally House Kansas City Barbecue T-shirt. You buy it, it sends a bunch of meals to harvesters, and it's got Gates, Jack Stack, Joe's, Q39, and Arthur Bryant's little logos on them. A little joint effort.
Very good shirt.
I also had barbecue for lunch today. It was great.
Caden points out, and I'm kind of expanding on what you could call Crypto.com Arena the Crypt.
Yeah.
Because the Lakers are now all the old people go to play.
Yeah. I don't want to put Caden or you on blast, but that joke was extremely funny on Twitter 8 hours ago.
I didn't see any of this on Twitter, okay?
You didn't even know this happened. You didn't know about the Royals jerseys. So the Royals tweet out
Twitter?
The Royals. I've never been on Twitter.
TikTok. I saw a commercial.
That's fair. You do need a TV commercial explaining why you need to be on Twitter. So the Royals tweeted out a picture of Whit Merrifield, but it's very, very, very heavily backlit by some of those like vertical lights, and the picture's very, very dark. So you see him in silhouette, but you can't obviously see any of the details on the uniform. I saw that and immediately was like, someone's got to just crank the brightness on this, right?
Now, where is this at?
At Royals.
Never heard of it.
Let me know if I need to help you further. But lots of people did brighten it up the whole way. And then whenever they cranked the brightness up, they saw on the shirt, on the jersey, the words "Nice Try." The Royals have since changed their display name to the Kansas City Nice Tries, which is also very good, and it's brilliant social media management.
And their bio is "Nice Try."
We tried.
Because I just pulled this up and saw this, and I was like, oh boy, this is good. I bet this about the jersey. And you explained it. I was like, so double yeah, but.
It is extremely good. They just had Witt put on like a plain white jersey, I think.
It's those jerseys they basically give
Awesome.
out before games. That's like I've got just a plain jersey.
Sure.
That's gray, and it says like Fox Sports Kansas City on the back.
Right.
Just a little tag,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was one of those like first 20,000 people get this jersey.
Witt was one of the
There's
first
no
20,000
number.
people to the photo shoot.
They just have some of those left over because I don't know, 20,000 people have been in a game in a while, but.
There's a lot of questions about corgis in the Twitch comments right now.
Have you ever had a corgi?
Nor a corgi. Neither one. For, It's definitely corgi because there's no way there's a breed of dog that rhymes with orgy. There's just no way. It's impossible.
I mean, there probably is one, but it's definitely
it's
corgi.
impossible. Like, there's no type of dog that's just like, oh yeah, this little fluffy breed over here, that's a prostitute. What? That can't be pronounced that way. That can't be. I think it's weird to be mad about the Staples Center changing its name to another corporate sponsor. That was my only point on that front, and I also hope the Royals' new jerseys are good. At this point, I really hope that they just say "nice try" on them, and I would buy one of those right now. Like if the Royals really did get caught off guard, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna do this year? We're gonna promote positive encouragement, and our jerseys are just not even gonna have a team name on the front. It's just gonna say "nice try." So it's kind of taunting the other team, but encouraging your teammates. And we'll send that out there, and then everyone was like, "Oh, that's so funny! Look at that fun bit they did." And then now they're currently scrambling to redo them. I would wear one of those though.
Make them powder.
I really feel like I got no.
It's a corgi joke.
I really feel like I got robbed on saying they should be called the Kansas City Powders. I'm gonna carry some of that anger for myself. Anger is my own, but it's really directed at Rudy. So, no confetti fell out of the sky when I made that awesome joke, and I kind of feel like everyone's let me down. We'll take a break. Whenever we come back, we'll actually talk about some of the things that happened out at Chiefs press conferences today. Got a couple of good questions into Patrick Mahomes, and I asked Nick Bolton about him in coverage, which is one of the things we talked about with him on this show. And I think his answer was short but also sweet, which is good for me because I have diabetes. So if anything is too sweet for too long a period of time, all of a sudden my whole day's messed up. So short but sweet answers from Nick Bolton worked just perfectly for me. We'll bring you that audio whenever we come back.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
or call 913-329-9000.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Sorry, I got distracted because I have the Facebook comments open now, so they come in live. It's distracting. Renee says that her dog keeps pawing at her phone. She's either loving the show or trying to make it stop.
With Joshua Brisco.
Listen, if you're listening to the show with your dog, please let us know how your dog is enjoying or hating the show.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Good liner work, Rudy. That continues to be true. I'd like more dog feedback on this show. We will, and
Corgis,
we'll do
if you got them.
Corgis especially, and we'll do our very best to make sure we're pronouncing all of the breed names correctly. Do you think that they would be sensitive about that? You know, about mispronouncing. What if we called them I was gonna try and mispronounce Dalmatian. But I was having a hard time.
Labrador.
if you called them a laboratory doodle, yeah, that'd be bad.
Do you see this bug?
Yeah, it's one of those shield bugs. I've been watching it for most of the show so far.
I just now spotted it, like right as this segment started.
I didn't see where it was just now. Those little shield bugs, and this one has been in here at least since yesterday, because I definitely saw it during last night's show. And we've had some of them pop up around the house. And at one point, this is ridiculous, and this is also, we're back on a relatively similar topic to one of our topics from last segment, so I guess cohesion. Are you going to try to get it for Twitch and Facebook? Rudy's going to try to frame it up for the video. Excellent. But a couple of them got into the house where we kind of have like our door to the backyard, but then it's kind of, then there are the stairs that go into the basement, and there's also a door that separates the little stairwell sort of area from the kitchen. And I saw like a shield bug inside there at one point. I just kind of left it. And then a few days later, I opened the door from the kitchen to kind of the stairwell area, and there were literally a dozen of them. The camera's trying so hard to focus, but it's well, you can just, Rudy, just use the camera that's closer to the bug, and oh, there you go. That's working. I gotta do another screenshot of a random AES without context moment. I guess that's just where I think that's a good place for us to be.
Honestly, about to disappear behind the camera.
You ought to just switch to that camera, and you can. That's okay. People don't have to see me. If you can be you, if it can just be video of you trying to get a bug in frame, that feels pretty accurate. But we literally had like a dozen of those little guys in that sort of backyard door stairwell kind of area. And I just eventually, just one by one, started grabbing them and throwing them outside, and grabbing them and throwing them outside. And I had to do it for several days because there were enough that they were repopulating in the area. And I've gotten very comfortable. At grabbing those and then just chucking them outside because they are harmless, and I have done it 1,000 times now because they are a bit of a plague. But they also seem fine. I don't think they're like
that was fun,
invasive or anything. Just trying to get I'm just trying to get a screenshot so people can absorb how weird that this show has been today, as opposed to our usual very normal shows. Yeah, this is gonna work out. Let's do some audio from Chiefs press conferences today. I was out there. We heard from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Nick Bolton. Let's do the Bolton one first. It's shorter, and there's not as much to talk about around it, but I do want you to hear it. I think it's interesting. He was already talking about some of the places where he feels like he's improved this year, and also the places where he feels like he continually needs to improve. And so he mentioned coverage at one point, and I've told you, I think he's very talented, very physical, and can be a wonderful thing for this defense to have, but he started his rookie season, as many players could reasonably do, as a liability in coverage. So I said, hey, how do you feel like your coverage has come along this year from week one to now, and then how much room do you still have to grow in light of that one play where he ran stride for stride right down the seam with Darren Waller?
Tremendously better than I was in week one, more comfortable-wise, but again, still not where I want to be. I got a couple plays out there I feel like I could have made up to this point in the season, so in the back half, I hope to make those.
I think that's an extremely reasonable answer. But the thing that I thought was interesting is, again, he kind of brought that up by himself earlier in the presser, and I'm just glad, and I'm not surprised necessarily, but I'm just glad that it's something that he's self-aware of, to say, like, yeah, I don't think many rookies come into the league and assume that their game is perfect. I don't think that would be a very good trait to have either, but I have no reason to believe that Bolton does. And if he is able to actually make substantial improvements to that part of his game, he doesn't need to be covering receivers out of the slot or anything. But if he could go stride for stride with Darren Waller, if he can just help cover tight ends, then he becomes a player that is not a liability. And again, he doesn't have to be great at it. If he's not a liability there, then you become a player that's not a liability anywhere. Therefore, you never have to come off the field. I think that's in the cards for Willie Gay. I think it could be for Nick Bolton, but that's just going to determine if he ends up being a bit of a two-dimensional player or a guy that can just be on the field basically 100% of the time. And if you want to argue that he has that capability, I'm totally cool with that. That's just the place that he really needs to be able to do it. What are you giggling at, Rudy?
Twitch comment from JT. It's the one about the leash.
Yeah, I see it. I think that what you just said is as much as we should read from it, because I think that should get most people to the joke. And if it doesn't,
it's very good though.
I'll give you JT's
good joke
social media, and you can ask JT to explain. I'm sure he can.
But I agree about Nick Bolton.
Thank you, Rudy. Tell me what you think about Nick Bolton.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I've been plenty critical of Nick Bolton. Like, my social media, my TikToks,
yes,
because I don't use Twitter, is very much
social,
has been about just Nick Bolton being such a massive liability in the passing game. Not even just being bad, just looking completely lost. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, like, since I want to say was probably the second half, since like halftime, I think it was the Washington game. Because I believe it was the Washington game was the first game where he was the guy, right? Like Anthony Hitchens out, he was a starter. I didn't think he had a great first half. But since that essentially halftime, so the last 2.5 games, he's played really well. And you see an improvement in the passing game to where, again, it's never going to be his thing. He's never going to be, he's not Isaiah Simmons, right? Like
sure.
He's not, Bobby Wagner in his prime. Like, he's not going to be those guys. But if you're just not a liability, if you just show some ability to play, in pass defense to where you're just not getting picked on every third down, that makes what you do on first and second down just that much more important. Because what he's done on first and second down, Nick Bolton's not Derek Johnson, but we have not seen a linebacker bust through a hole and tackle a running back in the backfield since Derek Johnson left. Yeah. They're two very different linebackers. Yeah. But we have not seen a linebacker with that kind of ability. And honestly, the Chiefs might have two of those guys in both Willie Gay and Nick Bolton.
Yeah.
And it is a bit of refreshing to see athletic linebackers.
Yes.
Because I kind of forgot what that was like.
100%.
Daniel
Absolutely.
Sorensen's been this team's most athletic linebacker, and he's not even a linebacker.
That is literally true. Yeah. And one element of that I feel like, I don't know, I think this can get lost in our larger form ways we talk about sports, that people end up either pigeonholing themselves or get pigeonholed in this regard. Saying player X is bad at Y right now is a different thing than saying player X will never be anything other than a misery at thing Y. Now, you can make really big and specific statements on certain things if you want. I didn't frame it this way, but I certainly could have just said the Chiefs will never get first-round pick value out of a running back taken at 32. That's not specific to Clyde, just running back to that position. Well, Jonathan Taylor is very good at his. It's not really about any individual player. I would not have been the guy to take two linebackers in the second round of back-to-back drafts. But we've got to be able to take an honest look at a player's strengths and weaknesses and then say, this is where he's good, but this either is or isn't enough to earn 100% of the snaps or 80% of the snaps or 50% of the snaps. We've got to be able to say, this is the thing that's going to determine how far he goes. I hope no one has ever heard me say Nick Bolton out of Mizzou is a fully formed player at that point. tell you honestly, he's not who I would have taken there. I would have taken probably Creed a few picks earlier, and then a receiver with the Creed pick. I am glad that Nick Bolton is on this defense. He makes it better, and if he can continue to improve in coverage, he's going to make it considerably better as the season and his career go on.
No matter
that's part of the conversation, though.
Yeah, no matter. I think at this point, and because again, this is where I come to. No matter how down I was at any moment, Nick Bolton, it's clear he should be playing over Anthony Hitchens the majority of the time. Like that much is just. And I think
Hitch smooths everything out, though, Rudy.
Yeah,
he smooths everything out.
Nick Bolton apparently isn't. I don't know if they just don't think he's smart enough for that, because it looked like he was doing it just fine in the games where he was starting. It is very clear, and it took them. Took them far too long to commit to Juan Thornhill over Daniel Swanson, and they just need to do the same thing with Nick Bolton.
Yeah,
and Willie Gay to a degree. Like he's obviously playing him much more, but he's been in the NFL for a year, but he is not that far removed from where Nick Bolton currently is. They're in very similar spots. Those guys just bring speed and athleticism that this defense just. I don't think it's a surprise that over the last 3 weeks we've seen this defense get better when their most athletic players have been on the field, because you need speed in the NFL. What's so funny, Josh?
JT said on Twitch, how do you post pictures on here? It's much easier than explaining. Let's make this, uncharacteristically, our short little segment of the hour. Let's come back and you can hear from Patrick Mahomes talking about his offensive line and the other rookie in question, Creed Humphrey. We'll play that audio whenever we come back.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports?
gross, man. That one's the worst. During the break, I went over to observe the shield bug, and I almost grabbed it and tossed it outside. I got the door open here to the balcony because I want the shield bug to survive and to be happy. And right now it's actually crawling into the crack at the top of the wall. Rudy, it might be coming over to your side, actually. It's over on the left here. It might be coming through.
I don't want that.
Oh, they're fine. They're fine little bugs.
I don't like bugs.
But I had the thought of, like, I'll grab it and throw it outside. Like, well, you know what? It's a little chilly out there. It's going to get chillier.
I think it could get to the tree. I think it'd be all right.
I could definitely throw it to the tree. That you could jump to.
I could take it to the tree if you want
just
me
by
to.
jumping. It has definitely crawled. I think we've seen the last of the shield bug today, probably. I'll keep an eye out, but it has crawled up into the ceiling area. I just think that if you're a shield bug, would you rather live out your days indoors, or you don't have other bugs, you don't have all of your food, I guess, but it's warm.
Do bugs feel warm and cold?
Well, I think cold can kill them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things can kill you. It doesn't mean you feel it necessarily.
But my thought is that bug wants to live.
Did you feel the diabetes?
Yes, actually.
Yeah,
I mean,
fair.
yeah, in a way.
Good point. Thought I had something there.
I saw earlier there was a Caden on Twitch, a Kentucky football shout out and a diabetic joke. Who's in charge of making that bingo card again? Because that's real.
Bingo.
I mean, I think we might have hit the bingo. Someone might have gotten a bingo in the first segment today. And that's also been true, I think, the last two shows.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is I think the things that pop up throughout our lives that we are like subconsciously wanting to talk about is sometimes it's sports stuff, but oftentimes like the little stuff will seep through the cracks, and then we'll have longer, sportier conversations. And we have not had very much bandwidth during football season because we've got all these live sports here on 810. And
baseball really.
The World Series was really it. You give me 2 shows a week to stretch out my arms during the week. We can
do some good things.
We can get there. But we just were basically off air for a little while. By the way, programming announcement here. So I'm doing the program on Friday. So if you want more of these dulcet tones, 2 to 6 on Friday, and we'll do that. And then
I'd say you're going to do a show when the sun's out, but by 3 o'clock the sun might not be out anymore.
Well, I'll cover that on Sunday. Saturday we're doing a little sporting show in the afternoon from Children's Mercy Park. Sunday I'll do a show when the sun is out, and then as the sun is setting, and then again after the sun has set, because I'm doing pregame from 9 to noon on Sunday.
Pregame. I'm
doing the big pregame show from 9 to noon. Another hour to get you ready right after kickoff.
Pregame
2 to 3.
Little pre.
And then postgame after the game.
Big pre, little pre, post.
So if you take that 12-hour window there, I think this is as simplified as the fraction can really get. I'm going to round it down, actually. There's a legit 50-50 chance that if you turn on 8:10 on Sunday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., there's a 50-50 chance that I will be talking into this microphone. And really, it's like 9 to 9 is about right.
Pretty much.
There's a 7 out of 12 chance, I would say. So you will not be wanting for more of my Chiefs Cowboys analysis.
Because they always were.
That's right, because I know so many of you have been hanging on the edge, waiting to live the rest of your life until I give you a Chiefs-Cowboys prediction. This is more Chiefs-specific than Chiefs-Cowboys matchup-specific, but let's go ahead and hear from Patrick Mahomes. During the press conference today, there's actually another Mahomes clip that I just remembered that I saved in there that I want to get to. Oh, man, it's happening again. Saying I have audio I want to get to is it's happening again. Yeah, but it's so good. All right, yeah, we'll speed through them. First up, though, my question to Patrick Mahomes. I said, hey, we've been asking you about the offensive line and the chemistry with the offensive line literally since training camp, and even in this last game and a half or so, Andrew Wiley has been at right tackle, but you, Patrick Mahomes. I didn't say Patrick Mahomes, but for context. But you've seemed comfortable behind that line, especially these last 2 weeks. So how has all of that come together over these last couple of weeks? And then I also have a follow-up question about Creed Humphrey. You'll hear that in the audio.
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten better and better each and every week. I mean, you would expect it. They've always had the talent, but whenever you're an offensive line, it takes playing together. It takes going through adversity together. It takes going through great times together. And so you've seen that. They've gotten better and better each and every week, and they have the talent. I mean, every single one of those guys. And then when you add in a guy like Wiley, who I've played with a while now, he's a guy that's going to battle. He's going to fight to the very end, and you saw that this last week when he went up against a really good defensive end and held his own. So, I mean, I have all the trust in the world in those guys up front, and they're going to keep getting better as the season goes.
What about specifically Creed, obviously having to be in the middle of that offensive line? Andy just mentioned all the stuff that gets dumped on a young center. What's different from him right now from week one?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just feels more comfortable. I mean, he's played good the entire season, but I think the more you see that he's seen more and more defenses, he's seen more and more pressures and blitzes, and he understands what we're trying to do as an offense. At center position, it's kind of like the quarterback. You get more comfortable the more snaps that you get. And so he now can kind of let his talent be shown. He can go out there and be who he is because he has a comfortability with the offense.
I thought that last part was maybe the most interesting thing, because I'm guessing that's in a lot of ways true for everybody. He mentioned quarterbacks and obviously Creed Humphrey's the center. I would have to think that as your comfort level increases in pretty much any form, in the offense, in the knowing your scheme, in the plays, in you being on an NFL football field, knowing the guy across from you, knowing your own abilities, more comfort in the details or in the things that you could potentially be doubting only makes it easier for you to be the best version of yourself as that all continues to develop. So I thought both of those things were interesting. I also thought this was very interesting. I left in the question asked by Sam McDowell of the Kansas City Star, because I think the specifics of the question are kind of important here. So listen to Patrick Mahomes answer this question from Sam about what the Vegas defense showed them, because we've talked a lot about, hey, did the Raiders play into the Chiefs' favor with what they did schematically? This is sort of where they headed.
Patrick, was that defense that you guys saw on Sunday sort of the first one that was different, I guess, this season? Drastically different, I guess.
In a sense, I think it still had the same principles. I mean, people were talking about it being a single safety middle defense, but I mean, if you really know the ins and outs of that defense, it plays a lot like too high. I mean, we've had trouble with that defense in the past. And so we found ways to just kind of be patient. It's the same thing, had to be patient early, and then when they played some man coverage later in the game, we hit some big shots. So, I mean, it was different because it didn't start off with too high, but in a sense, I mean, that's what they were trying to get to, and so for us, we just executed better this last game.
So you still feel like what you guys were able to execute can translate when you revert back to some of these defenses that you've been seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a battle. I mean, every single week. I mean, obviously, I'm sure they're going to do some different type of too high stuff, but they'll try to have mix-ups too. They're not going to sit back and give us the exact same coverage every single time. I mean, they're going to try to find ways to confuse me and to confuse this offense, and so we have to make in-game adjustments and still take what's there, and then whenever the shots do present itself, we have to hit those.
But that was really interesting because, one, it's a little bit of a rare kind of Mahomes going, well, not really. That's not what a lot of people have talked about from the Raiders defense isn't really accurate, and saying that they, it wasn't really single high. They're kind of working to more too high stuff. And then again, even when they were playing more too high, take what they're giving you, and then they switched to man later on, and you were able to actually see some of those big plays that Mahomes alluded to there. I think that's really interesting. And also, as you heard in the follow-up from Sam and the answer from Mahomes, it is absolutely something that should be able to transfer into the Cowboys game and into the rest of the season. It's not like the Raiders just said, we're going to go cover 0, engage 8, and just try and see what happens there, and then have the Chiefs pick them apart. They were playing their best options there. Chiefs offense just was better at beating it, which isn't terribly surprising because they've beaten different various defensive looks many times before. We'll talk about that with Kent Swanson of KC Sports Network next. Sad Fans on Reddit after that.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810
Carolina. We'll look at that and more. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN+.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
But whenever Cutlass had the heel turn of just doing like worship albums, I just had to pull that parachute, man. It was bad.
How does that even work?
You are my strong tower, fortress when I'm weak.
Oh no!
Your word is good and holy. Your face is all I see.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I don't know what's a bigger victory for just general Kansas City sports fans, the fact that the Chiefs put up 40 points and thoroughly defeated the Raiders, or the fact that we get to talk to Kent Swanson 2 weeks in a row. Kent, it's like Christmas. It's not yet, but it feels like it because you're here again.
The Chiefs are back, baby. Everything's right with the world. Yeah, no, it's an absolute pleasure to be on with you, man. I very much missed this. This time that we've had together, and it's good to just get on here and talk like 90% something that's not Chiefs related.
Yeah.
And then get like a final comment in right before you send me off.
I kind of feel like you just gave away like the Coca-Cola secret formula to everybody just now. So like I'm a little bit worried that now that we're going to get a whole bunch of RC colas just popping up around the world because you just revealed the secret formula. But it's also, you're not wrong about any of it. It's so I can't be like, oh, actually, you forgot an ingredient. And I guess it's kind of that. It's pretty simple.
You can try to replicate, but you're never going to succeed. And like that,
Wow.
RC is proof.
Wow.
I mean, like you can't replace the chemistry that we have on air for 30 minutes a week.
Do you think the secret ingredient in Krabby Patties is crab, or do you think it's something else?
I mean, it doesn't look like. I mean, aesthetically, I cannot see how there's crab in that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like. I mean, it just. I know that's a really very definite answer there, but like, I don't know. That doesn't look. It looks like a hamburger.
Right, but so here's the other thing you mentioned with what you just said. Now my brain's jogging here. Now I'm thinking. Now I'm on a little hamster wheel inside my head, and I'm wondering. I've never seen a sea cow. Like isn't every form of life in SpongeBob sentient? So like if it is made out of meat, it was made out of something sentient, right?
I mean, you would think, which is that cannibalism for them? Like how does that work?
I mean, it's starting to turn towards like a little bit of a horror angle of like, if you cut through the entire history of SpongeBob and wanted to make a supercut hour-and-a-half long horror movie about figuring out what's in the Krabby Patty and then just sort of stitch together the fact that everyone's alive and, again, sentient, I think you could do that because I don't know what the alternative is, other than maybe it's like a plant-based sort of thing, seaweed burger, but it's pink.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's no sentient being that is just like kelp. Kelp's not walking around on the show, right? Like I'm not as well versed in SpongeBob as I was 10 years ago, but
I also haven't watched it recently. I'm wondering if they've introduced. No, you know what? I've Googled SpongeBob kelp, and I have seen a screen grab here of a kelp shake, and also of kelp jerky. So maybe it's kelp. Yeah. Oh, Kelpo is the cereal. Yeah, these are all SpongeBob kelp-based products. So maybe it's kelp-based.
So this was always just a very progressive show that was promoting veganism.
Yeah,
is what we're. Yeah, okay. That's the subliminal nature of. It all makes sense now. Perfect. Okay.
The main character is a sentient talking sponge, and like it's very hard to get lower in terms of life forms, just with how we as human beings think of them. It's hard to get lower than a sponge. It's like, hey, we use a different artificial version of this animal to clean our genitals. Like it's hard to get lower on the totem pole than a sponge.
Yeah, it is. And probably harder to get lower than the conversation and where this conversation just divulged to.
Are you a loofah guy, a sponge guy, a washcloth guy, a bar of soap guy? What's your strategy?
I am a liquid body wash guy with my hands.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows.
Yeah, that's typically where I end up also. But occasionally you got to get a nice lather. I honestly, I'm open to alternative methods. If someone, this is the fan interaction portion of the show. You can text your vote in to 810-810, and you can vote A for sponge, B for washcloth, C for loofah, D for none of the above. I don't think that's a real text number, but boy, it'd be pretty cool if it was. I think that's a new feature. That could have been the way this conversation started, but right before we began, you mentioned to me that you read at your child's kindergarten today, and I just want to know, I didn't let you explain anything else so we could get to hear. What does that mean? What did you do today, and how did it go?
Okay, so they have this thing for my kids' class where you can sign up to be like the mystery reader for the class every week. And I decided I wanted to do it. I thought it'd be a lot of fun, surprise my kid. I'm just going to tell you, I've done a lot of live programming over my life.
Yeah.
Now, in the last 5 years, I've done live radio. I've done, live, streaming and podcasts and all that good stuff. And I've never been more nervous than getting in front of 25-year-olds to read a book. And it was fun. Like, don't get me wrong. And like, look, I brought my A game. Like, I had the A call sheet. I had Andy Reid's A script call sheet going. I was calling the good plays. I pulled the Cat in the Hat out.
Yeah.
And the Cat in the Hat. If you get good at the Cat in the Hat, it's the closest thing a suburban dad can have to bars.
Yep, 100%.
Like, it is like, if you get in that rhythm, you're on one, right?
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. Like, my kid didn't know I was coming, and I had a mask on when I walked in because all the kids and teachers.
Because
and
it was your Insane Clown Posse mask that you wear every time you go out in public.
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you for clarifying
You're
that. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But no, my kid didn't recognize me. We're all wearing masks. And he did, it's supposed to be like a surprise. Hey, your dad's here. And he didn't know who I was at first.
Oh, no.
He looked at me. He's like, and then so I kind of pulled my mask down. I didn't know if I was supposed to. I pulled it down a little bit. Oh, okay. It's my dad. All right, cool. So, yeah, but he was really hyped, and we had a lot of fun. But I was nervous to do this, more nervous than I was to talk to you right now on the airwaves or whatever.
You didn't walk in and have somebody go that's Ken Swanson from KC Sports Network. I read the Substack. That didn't happen of any of the 5-year-olds?
They're not the demo that we're really targeting right now. Although we are targeting schools, I guess, a little bit because we're trying to help support schools with KCSN. By the way, where we're feeding it forward every Friday, and Jeff Allen and his wonderful Cookie Society cookies down in Texas are coming up to Kansas City every single week. And 100 are going to school every week, which has been a lot of fun, and it's been supporting a area of our lives that are very much we really appreciate them, especially being a dad now. Mm-hmm. But maybe what I should have done is handed out KCSN cards to all. I should have put them in all their cubbies, just for their parents. I need to network better, is what I'm learning here.
Yeah. I also need to do a better job of telling people who you are in the rare case that perhaps this is their first time listening to this show. It's Kent Swanson of the KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com. You can go to kcsportsnetwork.com. The YouTube channel is cranking out content. They have a whole podcast network covering not just the Chiefs, but also local college stuff. And, there's a billion things at this point. Go to kcsportsnetwork.com or go to the kcsn.substack.com URL, and you will find things that you will very much enjoy. We're going to talk to Kent about Chiefs stuff in particular, but KCSN already growing like a sponge, full circle. Do you have your copy of The Cat in the Hat, or if not, can you just have that ready for next week, and so you can just give a few of your bars on the show?
Yeah, if you had it, I'll come prepared.
Yeah, bring it.
There's honestly, I didn't even read half the pages because it's just ingrained in my memory at this point. But I am the emotional toll that reading that book today took on me I don't feel like dropping bars on 8-10 right now. I'm sorry.
No. I want to give you time to be emotionally prepared for that, but I would also like to be able to tease the audience with that for next time. That we can be expecting.
Here's
a performance.
The next time I come in to do this, I'm gonna bring it and I'm gonna make you like beatbox behind me.
Okay. I'm just gonna go boots and cats and boots and cats and boots, and that'll be all you get.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's very fitting. Boots and cats. I mean, it's a cat in a hat. So we're good. The synergy here is outstanding.
Cats and hats and cats and hats and cats. That's just a little bit different, but I think it still works.
I think it works.
Yeah, I think it does.
we can make it. I think we can make it work.
Okay. Well, now it's also meaning work for me, which is really upsetting because one of my favorite things to do is to ask other people to do work, and then I can just sit there and listen. But if that's a sacrifice I have to make this happen next time, I'll do it.
You absolutely do. You just do. I'm sorry.
How absolutely miserable has it been to be around former AES intern Tucker D. Franklin, Esquire, in the after the, as we're calling it around here, the Tommy Townsend game?
So it's the
games,
quarterback,
really, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, it is the quarterback controversy that we're experiencing now in the KCSN, business side conversations. Like, he is very much pushing for Tommy Townsend behind the scenes. He wants to do a full article endorsing Tommy Townsend for QB1.
He ought to take with Kingsbury. Like, since he couldn't get Shane Buechele off the practice squad, the Cardinals should try to make a move for Tommy.
Well, the good news is he's on the 53-man roster, so I'm not even going to dignify this joke with a technical response.
Yeah, it's past the trade deadline too. Fine, fair. All right, fine. Continue talking about how there's a quarterback competition now. Since we're being very serious all of a sudden.
I just can't believe how animated Tucker was when that happened, and the overwhelming analysis he was able to provide on the spot of the throwing form. It was so funny to watch. His eyes were so big. I mean, his eyes were so big, and he was just like, he looks better this year. He's like, his stride has shortened. His arm pass has really gotten more efficient. I'm like, Tucker, this is a punter. How many times have you watched the singular pass of his career?
I mean, did he try to give you an answer to that? 'Cause I bet that number is upsettingly high.
He didn't give a number, but he gave this smirk that, like, you could tell that it's more than he should have.
Yeah, that seems right. Well, look, I'm happy for the two people most impacted by all of this, which is both Tommy Townsend and Tucker, because.
Yeah, it's the budding bromance between those two. Like, this could be the buddy cop movie of the summer and the off season. I'm really hoping we can make something work there.
I know BJ thinks he's hot bleep with all of the people he knows and all of the connections and all of that. But I'm gonna call him a fraud until there's some until I don't know, Long Bombs with Tucker Franklin and Tommy Townsend is a podcast on the KC Sports Network. Like, that's when you guys will have fully arrived.
Yeah, give us like 6 months, and we'll see where we're at, and maybe we could give Tucker that platform. I mean, I'm sure Tommy will say yes to Tucker because they're just such close friends,
right?
And just I mean, they talk to each other on a first name basis all the time, of course.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, go punch yourself with Tommy Townsend and Tucker Franklin. Even if it's just a one-off video series, something needs to come from that. On a content basis. Do you want to talk about the quarterback that is probably going to lose his job to Tommy Townsend shortly?
Yeah, we can talk about that bum, I guess.
Yeah. He looked, I mean, he got way more, a much higher usage rate than Tommy Townsend did, so I wouldn't even look at things like the touchdowns and the yardage and all of that. But even though he's not also a good punter, which, again, Tommy Townsend is a multi-tool player, whatever. I'm just saying, Coach Reed, if you're listening, I know you are. But Mahomes was still, nonetheless, pretty good against the Raiders. Are the Chiefs fixed? Were they ever broken, Kent?
Yes, they had a little bit of brokenness to them. I'm not going to say that they were broken. I'm not going to say Mahomes was broken because I think that's unfair.
I do too.
I think he had a really rough stretch there for a few games. But yeah, I mean, I think that was what we saw this week was closer to what we came in expecting to see week over week and what we've come accustomed to seeing near week over week with this football team. And the problem was we weren't seeing it because we're spoiled little Chiefs fans now that, don't know what to do with themselves because we went from never having a guy to having literally the best player in the world. Mm-hmm. And so, the roller coaster can kind of be a little bit, maybe bigger for us than we're used to. But, I think you saw it the week before against the Packers. I think the Packers game wasn't as bad as people want to paint it. Mm-hmm. I think that, there was rightfully some people supporting and kind of, defending Mahomes' performance in that game. But he really put a lot together this week, and the swag was undoubtedly back. That fist pump we talked about against the Packers, it really meant something, you can tell. So we'll see if they can carry it over this week. I've been touting this hashtag No Loss November thing, and really what it comes down to is if they can get out of this month undefeated, that means they've beat a lot of good football teams. Mm-hmm. If they beat I believe, 1 seed in the NFC right now, after winning the last 3 games, we get to go back to being insufferable Super Bowl favorites where we can do no wrong and have that swag back the rest of the year, I think, in Kansas City.
I want to get into some of the specifics of the play calling and in the story that you have right now at kcsn.substack.com. You can go sign up over there right now. In the first 15 and some of the stuff they set up and pulled back later, I want to get into some of those things we will arrive at eventually. But whenever you looked back at what the Raiders did defensively, and Mahomes talked about this a little bit in his presser today, which I thought was very interesting, kind of making note that, the Raiders weren't playing as much traditional too high safety shells or whatever, but that a lot of the the phrase was the purpose of their defense is in what they were running in the ins and outs of it. He said we're kind of to get back to often to 2 safety looks, and obviously that's been sort of the thing that's gotten a lot of the hype around the Chiefs' offensive struggles. It seemed like the Raiders were doing some things differently than other teams had done so far this year, but also the Chiefs have been good offensively against lots of different defensive fronts over the last several years. So how much of that game do you look at and you go, oh man, the Raiders misfired on their game plan? How much of it is just the Chiefs were on again?
I think it's a little bit of both for sure. There were some a little bit more middle field close coverage, and the Chiefs were doing a good job of attacking that, and they definitely did take full advantage of that. But it wasn't like they didn't have success against too high either.
Right.
It wasn't like the Raiders didn't play too high at all, or anything like that. They were doing a lot of different things, mixing some stuff in the middle of the field, the Chiefs beat anything that the Raiders tried to run at them. And I kind of talked about it a little bit this week. I think the intent for the Raiders was our pass rush needs to get home, and we're going to be good at what we do. Mm-hmm. And some teams have been more apt to adapt their scheme to say we're going to stick 2 safeties at the goal line. I don't care if you're 60 yards out. We're just going to let you play everything in front of you, right? And so the Raiders maybe didn't adapt some of their coverages, the way that other teams had, and the Chiefs definitely made them pay, which is a good thing to see. It's just proof that teams are going to be, teams are going to hope to make this team drive down the field against too high a lot, and the Chiefs are going to have to beat it. They're going to have to be short. They have to play the short game extremely well, and they're going to have to not fumble the football in the red zone.
Mm-hmm. Was that the end of your sentence? It felt like there was a comma there, and I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, there wasn't.
Are you sure?
Do you want me to keep talking about it?
No, not at all. In fact, I'd like to ask you another question. Thank you for letting me back in. Because a lot of the things that have been discussed are some of those self-inflicted wounds that the Chiefs have kept stubbing their toe on and everything. But also, and again, we're inching closer to the focus of your most recent piece up on the Substack, but the play calling in general, I have now heard talked about by enough people that I very much respect for me to think that maybe there was something else going on there. The Chiefs have never been, really Andy Reid has never been very forthright about how the play calling all works. The thing that stuck in my head is that Reid typically calls plays to Bieniemy into the huddle, I think is maybe the baseline for that. But obviously there's been times over the years where you've seen what appear to be different shifts. Sometimes it looks like Bieniemy is calling the plays himself. And against the Raiders, it seemed like Andy Reid was doing a lot of looking at his play sheet. So what did you make of that? I don't know if you have a theory about who's calling plays or whatever, but even just the sort of stylistic choices that were being made over the course of the game. We can talk about the Byron Pringle touchdown and how it got set up earlier. Was any of that unique to the Chiefs from this season? Or again, is that just another matter of like, it started working again, but they've been doing a similar process through the first 9 games of the year too?
Well, I don't think setting plays up is anything that is not done for the Jets play calling or anything like. I mean, everyone's doing that. I think there definitely seemed like a different personality to the play calling this week, if that's the way I can say it. And the timing and the instincts, like play calling is an art. It's not scientific. It's not just we're going to get this list at 100 plays, 150 plays, and we're going to choose, choosing off the menu and choosing when you order is very, very valuable of a skill set. And it really did seem like there was some personality change to how the game was called. The instincts were a lot better. And, you can look into that however you want, and I think that it's justifiable to at least question it. Was Andy Reid a little bit more hands-on? I wonder if, we forget that Andy Reid went to the hospital in week 3 of this season, and we don't talk about it. And was part of his adjustment to his was there a lifestyle adjustment where maybe he was hands off in some areas, as he's building, as the call script is, or as the game sheet, game script's getting put together. Maybe he couldn't be as hands on in some areas as means to manage some of his health issues. I don't want to speculate too far, but you wonder, because there did seem to be a little bit less personality in the way that you're used to seeing him call. And I think the instincts on the screen game were so good this week, and they did a good job setting some things up later in the week or later in the game, and there was a lot of really they really had their hands they had their hands on the pulse. So I wonder if the guy pulling the trigger, maybe there was something to be said there. But to also defend the whole concept, it is whether or not Andy Reid's the play caller or not, it is a truly collaborative effort. Like when he says that they're all collaborating, it's true. Yeah. But I think Andy Reid signs off on everything that goes in that call sheet.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Was that the end of your answer? It sounded like it was. I'm pretty confident on that one.
I'm just going to start using the word period at the end of every comment I have here, just moving forward.
I think that might work just from a sports radio sort of gas bag standpoint.
Period.
Yeah, so do that. Yeah, try that out next time, because I'm guessing that by the end of your answer, I'll have forgotten that was going to happen, and it's really going to catch me off guard. So I like the way that you framed and just absolutely hit the Jets with a stray on the setting things up front. You're right. It's nothing that only inventive teams are doing. However, I liked the example of the Byron Pringle touchdown that's, again, in the piece in the Substack right now, because it's always – I at least for myself, I hear it get talked about all the time, but there's not always, hey, here's this exact same looking formation run a couple of times, and then here is where it's a run, and here's where it's a touchdown to Byron Pringle. I like the juxtaposition of that. Can you walk us through a little bit of what it was that caught your eye in those two plays, and how the Chiefs did successfully set up that touchdown with something they did earlier in the game?
Well, yeah, and I mean, a lot of times there is a lot of plays that, a lot of times it's in the first 15 that they'll kind of build off of some of the looks and stuff, that they kind of show the early game script, the opening script. Very much, it's a very rigid kind of call sheet, except for special situations, and they use those to kind of set up. Hey, we're going to line up in this formation. We're going to motion exactly. We're going to motion this way. They'll bring the same look, the same motion and formation and action. But then there's always something to build off of it. So, with late in the game, what the Chiefs did is, they motioned Noah Gray in. They ran a toss play. It did nothing. I mean, they left the cornerback on block, and they had Darrell Williams one-on-one with a corner on the edge, and the corner brought him down for a gain of nothing. So the Chiefs and Byron Pringle, he ran this his blocking path, the path to get inside and block was kind of inside. So he kind of moved inside a little bit, kind of up the hash. And the Chiefs did a wonderful job of utilizing the everything that toss play presented to set up a beautiful pass play out of it, a play action pass. So they faked the toss. It looked like Byron Pringle was coming inside the same way that he blocked the first play, but then he, runs to the corner, of the corner pylon, and Mahomes drops the ball off of play action to him. And so, everything looked identical all the way up to the ball not going in Darrell Williams' hands, even Byron Pringle's pass, and Patrick Mahomes pulled up and threw a pass to Byron Pringle against too high, by the way. It was against the too high structure. So
that can't be right.
I know, but it's just there's some teams that can set stuff up. There's some teams that can utilize everything about a play the way that Andy did. And Andy is very good at building off of certain looks, and he's probably one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL at it, period.
It worked. I knew you were done, but it also surprised me. So that's, I think, fully landed. I was on, all right, so Kale finish this answer, and then I'll ask about that Tyreek Hill touchdown, period. What? What did I miss? Why was that so aggressive? Another play that in this piece you took a closer look at was the touchdown play that capped off the Chiefs' first touchdown drive. Tyreek Hill running a little shake route. Now, look, I'm going to say this as I say every time. This is going to be more useful for you, the listener, if you also, after hearing this, go read the story and then also watch Kent's little video breakdown. I love the little video breakdowns. I know I've told you this. I've told Craig this. I might have even told Matt this at some point. I really like the little video breakdowns. But you can go see all this in the piece. But I also like this because I didn't catch that route live the first time. I did not see the specific way that Tyreek Hill became basically unguardable. And I also think it's super interesting because Tyreek Hill, if you go 30,000-foot view, he'll disappear because he is not a typical red zone threat in anyone's mind. He is not, the big-bodied target that stands in the end zone and then you just throw the ball up and they go get it. And yet, he's been one of their most effective weapons in the red zone. And I thought this was a pretty good snapshot of why that can be.
Well, it's also a representation of wherever you're at in the field, it's really difficult to give him space, and it's really difficult to give him space one-on-one. And, I think, the Raiders probably looking at it, they're just hoping that, because they're at a condensed portion of the field that, Mahomes and Hill aren't going to be able to connect, and they're willing to give up some of these outside the number type throws. But, I mean, Tyreek Hill, the Raiders played an off coverage in the red zone, and Tyreek Hill made him pay. And he ran it's a double move, but it's because Tyreek Hill's got that explosiveness, the threat of his vertical ability, the ability to change direction so well that he turned off coverage in the red zone and inside the 10-yard line into a wide open touchdown. That's really hard to do. He created a ton of space, and his the threat of him working across the field, to which the Chiefs did later, later in the game, they worked across the field with him. His ability to hit landmarks anywhere on the field is so terrifying that I think it stresses people out. But he kind of built off of all of that and was able to kind of get open on the front pylon. And credit to Mahomes, the trust with Mahomes too, that Mahomes dropped the ball right there perfectly for him too.
Period. This was a stat tweeted out by Adam Leviton, I'm going to say. Feels like a pretty good guess. He tweeted, Chiefs finally demoted McCole Hardman. Wide receiver routes run on the 50 Mahomes dropbacks on Sunday. Tyreek Hill, 41. Byron Pringle, 34. Demarcus Robinson, 23. Josh Gordon, 20. McCole Hardman, 17. Marcus Kemp, 1. What do you make of this group now? We're just another step in, but you also got contributions and touchdown contributions from Byron Pringle, from Noah Gray in this game. Do you feel any differently about the quest for a third pass catcher today than you did this time last week?
I mean, it's still just committee, and you don't feel great about the committee. I think this is going to sound weird. I have hope for Josh Gordon still. I still have hope for Josh Gordon, and he's the ceiling to this group. So, if he can go out and do something, that's going to be really valuable. But I think it's going to be a week-by-week basis with this, with the secondary-type pass catchers, the Byron Pringles, Demarcus Robinsons, McCole Hardmans, Noah Grays, all those guys. It's always going to be, I think there's going to be games where one of them has a big game and one of them pops off, and then one of them isn't seen for the rest, for a week. And I think that's been happening already. It's just it kind of becomes more magnified when this team doesn't put up points, and they need someone. There's always got to be someone that steps up, and it's just always you never know exactly who it's going to be. I don't think.
Do you have? I mean, I am in lockstep. I'm feeling also a little bit dumb of going. Maybe Josh Gordon's going to come around because. It's a different situation than Odell Beckham going to the Rams and being able to play a few days after getting there and all that, because Josh Gordon literally got to Kansas City after not playing football for a while again.
Yep.
But when will you stop having hope for him as a contributor for this team?
When they start losing. And that sounds weird. That sounds like a weird statement. But, like, if they go on another losing stretch, we're going to start criticizing the Josh Gordon thing. But I think that, there's always going to be something in the back of my mind says that he's capable of jumping into this, group of contributors. Mm-hmm. And I think he's better than all these contributors that, the guys we kind of just talked about. I think he's better than all these guys from an ability standpoint. I think, I'm just always going to have some level of optimism, some level of belief that there's going to be a point at some point in this season, maybe it's towards the end of the year, where he gets involved and gets involved in a big way. I think you're kind of starting to see his snap count and his snaps are trending in a good direction. He had the highest percentage of snap counts and highest snaps in his time in Kansas City this last week against the Raiders. Now, he didn't get a touch. Mm-hmm. I think it's coming. I think there's going to be some moments. And when Andy said it this week, his time's coming, I really believe it. There's too much ability. There's too much of a need here for them to not figure something out here at some point very soon that sees him, becoming, a legitimate piece to this. And, there's something to be said about, letting him kind of just get his feet underneath him. I think he might be close to, I think he might still be under 100 snaps or right around 100 snaps here. So, let's see where he's at in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And if they've won 4 games in a row, say, hey, maybe Josh Gordon, maybe he's not something you're banking on, but I think there's still a reason to have a little bit of hope and optimism.
I think you touched on it, at least one element of it just there, but this sounds kind of like a trick question of some sort. But like, what is your actual best guess for why we haven't seen production there to this point?
Well, I mean, I think Mahomes has outstanding chemistry with a couple of his key players. Mm-hmm. I think there's, I think there's 2 guys that are always going to eat up the targets, and they should. Mm-hmm. I mean, the screen game was pretty, the screen game was going pretty good. So, like, you reduce the number of opportunities for some of these guys. Like, I don't think he's getting the McCole Hardman touches. Mm-hmm. He's going to get the Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle touches. Right. And, I believe he outsnapped Demarcus Robinson this week, right?
He had more, he had 3 fewer routes run on the dropbacks. He might have made that up on some run snaps. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I think there is starting to become more of a shift a little bit here, and I think there's going to be some opportunities, especially if I think he's a guy that can win outside the numbers, and against too high, it's an area that they call it the honey hole, the rail shot. Those are areas I think Josh Gordon can have a lot of success, and give him a shot there. A big physical guy. Like, I think that's another element that they can present at some point. Maybe they're holding it back a little bit. Who knows? But I think there's some areas of the field he can win in. I think, the X receiver role is still much in play. The only caveat with Josh Gordon is Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle are outstanding blockers, and Gordon has not always been about that life this year. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that might even hold him back a little bit more from some opportunity.
How are you feeling about the Cowboys right now with everything that they're going to bring?
I mean, it's going to be a good game, and you're not going to get many more tests like this. I mean, we're talking about the 1 seed in the NFC, and the Chiefs have failed every single big test that they've had this year. Obviously, I mean, Jordan Love was, the Jordan Love game was still a good win. I'm not going to discredit the win, but this team has went toe-to-toe against legit Super Bowl contenders at full strength and failed. Mm-hmm. And so, this is a big one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I think both offenses are going to score a lot of points. I think it's going to be a shootout. But I feel good. I feel good about where this team's at. I think they're figuring things out enough that, they're going to pull this game out this week, and then I'm going to be an insufferable Patrick Mahomes stan where I'm going to be talking about the best team in the world and yada, 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 all that stuff.
We haven't talked about the defense at all, and you say it's going to be a shootout. So is there skepticism? Are you a believer? Where are you on the Chief fence?
Oh, I'm buying a lot of what this team is putting down defensively, but they're also going up against an outstanding offense. It's more about how good of an offense that the Cowboys have. And, that's really where my opinion comes from. I think the defense is doing a lot of good things. They're trending in the right direction. I think they'll make enough plays, to win this game on Sunday, but I'm not going to get too bent out of shape if Dak Prescott and the Cowboys and Kellen Moore, one of the better play callers in the National Football League, puts 30 on them. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be discouraged. All I want out of this week is a win. Like, I don't care about style points. I don't care. There's not a ton of narratives that I'm going to really worry about this week. I don't think if the Chiefs win, because just getting this victory heading into the bye week is so massive for this team.
And let's say, not knowing the result of the Cowboys game, obviously, right now, if you had to put, 5 Cookie Society cookies that were going to go to teachers if you subscribe to KCSN, or they would go into the trash can if you get this wrong, who wins the AFC West as we stand right now?
Well, I don't know what the odds are, but I think it's Chiefs Sharpie it.
Which is just crazy. I was 99% sure that's what you were going to say. And just think about where we were 3 weeks ago. And some of these last few wins haven't even been particularly impressive. They have, and this isn't even me preaching like caution or anything. I'm just kind of amazed that there was one huge dominant victory over the Raiders, and now it's like, oh, Sharpie, I think. Because the other teams have also obviously, had their issues.
Yeah, I don't think. I get that, and I think other teams have kind of come back to earth a little bit, specifically the Chargers.
Yep.
I mean, the Chargers have really they've crashed hard.
Yep.
They've lost 3 of their last 4. They almost lost to the Eagles, and I mean, the Steelers they got the Steelers coming up. That's probably one of their. Bengals. They've got some easy games with a couple decent challenges here. One being the Chiefs. Like I said, Steelers, Bengals, there's some tougher games, but they've got an easy stretch here. I just think, the Chiefs showing a pulse is really the difference. They aren't the full reveal. The Chiefs may not be the full reveal of themselves, but I think we've seen enough recently to say this team's going to go out and do what they do against AFC West opponents and just sweep them the rest of the year.
Period. That's what Kent Swanson says. If you want more from the man, you can go follow him on Twitter at Kent_Swanson. You can check out everything that they do at KC Sports Network. KCSN.substack.com is where the writing happens. They've got the whole podcast network, including KC Lab with Kent and Matt and Craig. Everything in video form coming in 2022. Tucker Franklin and Tommy Townsend, Go Punt Yourself. That's debuting somewhere in there. I'm not an executive producer, but I'd like to be an honorary producer of that just because, you know what? Tell BJ I want to be an executive producer of that because I came up with the concept and the name.
I think those terms are reasonable. I think, we can come to some kind of agreement, period.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Thanks again to Kent Swanson of KC Sports Network. And thanks to all of you who have enjoyed this show so far tonight, especially I'm telling you, man, look, I know that some of you are driving around in your cars. The Lebitard show does some video streaming now, but I mostly listen on the podcast and everything. But the video watchers of this show definitely get the best stuff, because just now I have sat back down into my chair, and that segment started with me just probably barely peeking up over the bottom third graphic because I was sitting down. It was still framed for when I was standing. A couple things here really quick from the Twitch, and then we're going to get the sad fans on Reddit. Lesbro Games on Twitch said, I see Pokemon, and they were looking at my screen because I just pre-ordered the digital version of Pokemon. Is it? I got these backwards all the time. Shining Pearl. That's it.
Shining Pearl.
I have made my choice on the Pokemon remakes. Was that a 7, Rudy?
Yes.
Okay. So I've made my call. I like the legendary birds, and they're exclusive. So I've gone Pearl for the new Pokemon game that's coming out. Rudy about to double pack because he's a crazy person. And then 1F457Z on Twitch as a Dallas area KC fan, the sports radio down here has been a tough listen. Only seem to be two trains of thought. It'll either be a close game / shootout that the Cowboys win, or else the Cowboys blow us out. First of all, that's the beauty of Twitch and all of our different places. You can watch us from Dallas, so thank you for doing that. I think it's interesting because we're probably doing that around here. The Cowboys have had a more successful season to this point. And yet we all saw the Chiefs beat the Raiders and kind of think that's the real Chiefs. It's fun. Let's hear more about the Chiefs and the Raiders. Raiders fans had to be bummed about that one, right?
And now, a list of things that Las Vegas Raiders fans said on Reddit. Looks like a home game for the Chiefs. Sad. I blame Leatherwood for this. Nice job, guys. Why even bother to cover their top receiver in the end zone? Great coverage. A sneak. What a concept. We went for that good old wet paper bag defense. Comment. That should be taunting on Kelsey. Look at him shaking his hips. Menacingly. Reply. So menacingly. I'm hurt and offended. Is it bad if I eat the whole large pizza and 6 wings or nah?
Nah.
Yo, this secondary is cheeks. Can we spread the ball out? Also, DC4 has the escapability of a dishwasher. Greg Olsen looking like 2016.
DC.
Big hole! Holding you Chiefs look bad all year. We make them look amazing again.
Yeah.
That's
true. That's true.
Why the hell did Deshaun come to this trash-ass team?
That was pre-fumble, I have
Fart
to imagine.
noise.
Yeah, maybe that was the fumble.
Anything good on TV right now? I've already seen this rerun. Didn't have any beer for the day game. Set up my hookah, bought an awesome dinner, popped open a beer, put my feet up for this trash. Oh, baby Jesus, please stop them. I've never gone through so many emotions in 3 seconds. I want Oakland back. How's that Elvis impersonator at covering running backs?
Which one?
This team has lost their home field advantage and identity when they moved to Las Vegas. They did keep the generational losing, though. That never seems to change. How the hell did we beat the Ravens?
Nobody's
Is Yellowstone any good?
My sister says
Chris
yes.
Collinsworth tips the valet a couple bucks and always says, don't spend it all in one place.
He does.
Next year is our year.
Oof.
Blacklist the Raiders from national television. I'm just sad. Carr's glad he can keep his annual February Cancun trip a tradition.
Yikes.
Look at them, smiling and it's pathetic. At this point, we'll be lucky if Carr doesn't decide to become a missionary after this game. At least we won't have another meltdown after starting 6-3 this year. Worst Raiders collapse since Checks notes. Last year? Mahomes throws a 1-yard pass completion. See, this is why he's the greatest quarterback. Nay, greatest athlete to ever live. I fantasize about him and Kelsey, my wife, while I watch, so I'm going to verbally suck their for the next 120 minutes. Oh my God, Kelsey caught a 2-yard pass on first down. Is he a Hall of Famer? Let's compare his stats to a receiver that played in the league with rules that didn't completely favor this offense. He's the best.
Yeah, Waller's okay.
Holy Kelsey with a 30-yard catch. Oh my dog, I want to stick him. It's games like these that wish we were even worse on par with the Lions. At least they don't have false hope of Super Bowl aspirations or seasons turned to after crazy happens midway.
Did Raiders
SMH.
fans have hopes of Super Bowl aspirations?
Season over. Blow it up. Start over. Again. It's crazy how everyone knows we have to use Waller, except the f***ing team that has him. I hate being a fan. I've always wondered if it's physically possible to kick yourself in the balls. This team has showed me that you can, in fact, kick yourself in the balls.
Everyone try.
Gotta be real flexible.
I've seen Pee-wee teams that played with more heart in order to get a plastic trophy and a pizza party than the Raiders did to take the lead in an NFL division.
I do a lot for a pizza party.
Remember when the Chiefs barely beat the Giants and everyone on the sub was acting like we were the king of the world?
Taking my
how
shoe
things
off.
have changed.
That makes it easier.
Well, we knew we were going to get dry by the refs after the lawsuit
I would
came
say
out.
it makes it harder.
I can kick
And
myself in the
now,
lower thigh.
the bronze medal.
Upper thigh.
Chris Collinsworth is the guy behind you in the movie theater who keeps asking super loud to whoever is next to him, Mahomes, what the main character said. And now the silver medal. Where are Al and Chris's emails? And now the winner of things that Raiders fans said on Reddit. The autumn wind is a fart.
By the way, I forgot about the music bed being so long, so you have 2 minutes to wrap this
Oh,
up.
that makes more sense.
It's better.
I kind of want to continue the remake of The Autumn Wind here. Let's see. Keep this music up for me.
Yeah, I was just gonna pull it down a little, but definitely playing it out through the end.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's see. Can I get those? I just need the full script. Oh, that it's an adaptation of another poem.
I did not.
The autumn wind is a fart, blustering in from sea. With losses in Vegas, he sweeps along, collapsing boisterously. His team is weather beaten. His team is handily beaten. He wears these L's with a silver hat about his head and draft classes straight from hell. It's a good poem. My favorite one.
Mike Mayock reads that to himself every night before he goes to bed.
He should. That should be, I think, his ringtone. If you call Mike Mayock, but he never answers because he listens to the whole thing. I think my favorite sad fan there was that absolute novel, and also a little editing, I think, from the Ghost of Beards to say, Darren Waller's pretty good. Oh, Travis Kelce, which, to be fair, I think is fair. Thanks to Kent Swanson. Thanks to the Ghost of Beards for the sad fans. Thanks to Rudy Salazar on the other side of the glass. This is the last AES of the week. I'm doing the program on Friday, a sporting show on Saturday, pregame 2, and postgame on Sunday. Is AES back on Tuesday next week?
We're both off.
We're both off. This is the last AES for a while. I'll talk to you mother bleepers in December. Bye, Mom.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.